And now to introduce our speaker for the evening. Jack Dunn oversees all of the university's public and media relations efforts and serves as its primary spokesman and strategist. A graduate of Boston College, Dunn holds a master's degree in public relations from Boston University. Prior to assuming his position in December of 1998, he served as vice president of external affairs at Catholic Charities and also worked as a reporter and freelance correspondent for several publications. Aside from his work at BC, Jack serves on the board of trustees of Boston College High School, his alma mater. He and his wife, Hazel, have 4 children, 2 of which currently attend BC. Jack also teaches undergraduate courses in advanced public relations at BC. I'm currently taking his class, and every week, Jack shares his love of language with us and teaches us that words matter. This is his second Agape Latte, and he is one of our most popular storytellers. Faith, family, and Boston College are 3 values important to Jack Dunn, and we are happy to have him here tonight.
Thank you. Nice job, Eileen. Thank you. Is this one working? Good evening, Boston College. Thank you so much for being here, for giving up your Tuesday night to join us in this conversation. I'm so impressed. Thank you. I want to give a special word of thanks to the student committee that runs Agape Latte. Let's hear it for them. Where would we be without their leadership? A special word of thanks to my friend and colleague, Karen Kiefer, who is the Assistant Director of the Church in the 21st Century Center and the leader of this effort. When you work at BC, you get to work with a lot of really smart and talented people. There's no one on this campus that I respect more than Karen. Thank you so much, Karen. To Tom Groom, who directs the Church in the 21st Century Center, and to Father Leahy, who conceived it 15 years ago in what was a prescient, visionary moment. And it's doing so well 15 years later, thanks to you and your willingness to be here. So, tonight, I want to talk to you about love. In particular, I want to talk to you about the importance of giving yourself away in love. I chose this topic because this program is called Agape, and Agape means selfless, sacrificial, unconditional love, the highest of all forms of love, a love that asks for nothing in return. And this is the season of Advent, when we celebrate the birth of the Christ child, whose ultimate message was unconditional love. So to do so tonight, I want to share with you 2 stories from my own life. One is a painful story of love lost. The other is a tragic story of love unrealized. Both of these stories are intensely personal. Here are my stories. To begin, when I was a freshman at Boston College, I was walking through campus during the student involvement fair, same as you have now, trying to decide what I wanted to do. Should I write for a newspaper? Should I join a theater group? And all of a sudden, I don't know why, but I was drawn to a table for the Big Brother Association of Boston. I approached the representative, and he said, "We're looking for college students, mentors, students who will give 4 to 5 hours a week to a fatherless boy. But if you sign up, you have to commit. You have to give us a year, because these are kids who've been wounded." So I thought about it, and I said, "I'm in," and I signed up. And within a month, I was paired with a 10-year-old fatherless boy from Dorchester, from the Boston neighborhood of Dorchester, named John. John's story is one that plays itself out far too often across our country. He had been abandoned by his father, who had left him and his mother and 2 brothers alone at Christmas time. So the only man in his life that he had ever known and trusted had turned his back on him. So when we met, John was painfully shy, untrusting of men. And we had a hard time at first getting him just to look at me. He had big brown eyes, and he'd look at his shoes, just would only look up barely just to see me. So it took a while, but eventually we developed a bond that was nothing short of love. I loved him as if he were my blood little brother. I loved him with all of my heart. So I'd leave BC, and on Friday afternoons, we'd hang out. Some days we'd just go for a walk. Some days we'd talk. Some days we'd play football, catch, or throw a baseball around. When I could scrounge up the money, we'd go and see a Red Sox game at Fenway Park. We'd sit in the bleachers. Or we'd go and sit in the upper balcony at the old Boston Garden and watch wrestling matches. He loved wrestling matches. There was nothing more enjoyable than being with a little kid when they're watching wrestling, thinking that it's all on the level. John struggled in school. And so I said to him, John, you've got to turn this around. You've got to become a student. Education is a great equalizer. It's a way up. It's a way out. You've got to make this work. And so slowly, John started to transform himself into a student. So one day on a Friday when report cards were due out, I went to see him. And he was sitting on the top step of the triple-decker, the three-family home in Dorchester where he lived. And by the time I could pull the car up, he was bounding down the stairs with his report card in hand. And he showed it to me for the first time in his life. He had done well. He had made the honor roll. And so I said spontaneously, John, I'm so proud of you. And this tough little city kid burst into tears because no man had ever said that to him in his life. The power of our words. John continued to grow in academic self-confidence, and our relationship continued long after I graduated from Boston College. He went on to South Boston High School, where he made the honor roll and played basketball for Southie High. While he was a senior, he applied for a scholarship to Northeastern University. He and his mother had since moved to the Old Harbor Housing Project in South Boston. And Northeastern gives scholarships to kids who live in public housing. He applied for it and got one. My little brother was going to college. So, in the summer before the start of his freshman year, my wife and I got married. He was an usher in our wedding. I will never forget the joy that night of standing on the dance floor with my 7 best men, my 7 closest friends. Tonight, a memory I'll always cherish. John started his freshman year at Northeastern and struggled. Wasn't always easy, but eventually he found that confidence that all of us who have ever struggled need to find. That belief in ourselves that we can do it, that we belong. And he finished out his year doing well. That summer in August, before the start of his sophomore year at Northeastern, he came to see my wife and me for dinner at our apartment in Quincy. He talked excitedly about the start of the school year to come. And he said, you know, I've been thinking, when I finish college, I want to go to law school because I can envision myself being a successful lawyer. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to get my mother out of the projects, and it's going to be great. I told him I was so proud of him. It was the last time that we'd ever speak. 2 nights later, John went out with his friends from the neighborhood. I begged him not to. I said, John, you're in a different place now. You have to move away from the neighborhood. You're a college student. You have to move away. But in the fiercely tribal world of Boston, where we prize loyalty above all else, I knew that my words would fall on deaf ears. John went out with his friends. They went to a party on Valley Road in Dorchester. They got in an argument with some guys. A fight ensued. And John was stabbed to death on the street corner, not far from where he had been born. I felt like someone had ripped my heart out from inside of me. I felt like Everything that I believed to be good in the world was taken. And then I did what too often we do when we mourn. I turned inward. I just turned away from the world. I wanted nothing to do with anyone outside of my wife and my family and my closest friends. I wanted nothing to do with anyone. And one day, a Jesuit who I knew from BC High came to see me. And he said, "I'm really worried about you." And I said, "Don't be, I'm fine." And he said, "I'm worried about you." And he said something I've never forgotten. He said, "I need you to know from my own experience that it costs a lot to love someone. It costs a lot to give yourself away. But what's the alternative? To go through life without loving?" He said to me, "God didn't give you the ability to love so that you'd hide it in a box. He gave it to you so that you'd share it with others." So he said to me, "Honor John's memory by loving again." It was the best advice I've ever been given, and I've done my best to try to heed it. My wife and I had 4 children of our own. My oldest son, we named John. He's here tonight, and I love him. I'm very proud of him. My daughter Siobhan is the love of my life. She's here too, and I'm very proud of her. Why am I sharing with you this story, this intensely personal detail from my life? I share it with you because I know everyone in this room has been affected by loss. Everyone here has lost a loved one. So I hope you'll heed the advice that I was given so many years ago and find it within your heart to love again, because that's what the world needs us to do. And I'm sharing this story with you I'm sharing this story with you because I want you to know when I drive through Boston streets, I still see thousands of kids just like John who are desperate for someone who will believe in them. Each year at Christmas, we spend so much time looking for the perfect gift. I want you to know that the perfect gift is you. Give yourselves away. Give yourself away to someone who needs your love. That's the spirit of agape. That's the spirit of the Gospels. It's the spirit of Christmas. And it's the true meaning of Boston College and Jesuit education. Give yourselves away. My second anecdote, my final anecdote tonight, involves a discovery of information this summer that resolved a century-old family mystery. I know from my family history and my own genealogical research that 3 of my 4 great-grandparents were Irish immigrants. What I didn't know was the story behind my grandfather. My grandfather had been placed for adoption at birth, but we knew nothing else about his past. My grandfather was a difficult man. He was a person who was hard to love. He wasn't at all affectionate. He wasn't at all giving of his own love. And he was resistant to our attempts to love him. He struggled with alcohol. And my older cousins remember at times he'd drink too much and say, "I was a bastard. My own mother didn't want me. She gave me away. My own mother didn't love me." He labored under that assumption his entire life. And it seemed to affect everything that he did. So this summer, my cousin Maureen, who's a brilliant researcher, took it upon herself to solve this mystery, to figure out what we had never known. Through her dogged determination and the kindness of a staff person at the Department of Children and Families, she uncovered a folder with information that explained it all. What we learned for the first time, that my great-grandmother was named Bridget Nevins, that she'd come from Ireland and had worked as a domestic servant in the home of a wealthy Boston family where she was paid $3 a week. My grandmother had met a man. She'd become pregnant. He had abandoned her. And realizing that she couldn't possibly support herself and her child, she approached the Catholic Charitable Bureau of Boston in the hope that they could help her in placing her child in foster care until that time when she was ready to reclaim him. A letter in the folder tells her story with such poignancy. It's a letter from Maurice O'Connor of the Catholic Charitable Bureau of Boston to Mr. John Derby of the State Board of Charity. Ironically, it's dated December 6th in the year 1904. My dear Mr. Derby, the bearer, Bridget Nevins, is a poor unfortunate who, after being wronged, has been deserted by the father of her child. She is a domestic and wishes to return to work as soon as possible to support herself and child. She would like to have the infant placed out temporarily in foster care. She's quite willing to do her share in bearing the expense of the child's support, though of course her income is very small. She is eager to visit the child occasionally and would be grateful if you could place him near Boston, where she could reach him in the limited time allowed domestics. With kind regards, Maurice O'Connor. And then in the folder, in a letter, handwritten by my great-grandmother, a woman I've never known, but for whom I feel such incredible love and compassion, she wrote, Dear Mr. Derby, she had always agreed to send $1 of the $3 a week to support her child. And now in this letter, she says, Dear Mr. Derby, I thought I would send you $1. I did not know anyone to send it to but you. I hope I did not do wrong, as it is hard for me to get off work now. I work at the watch factory now. People say the factory will soon close down, and I will be out of work then. I trust in God little Francis is well. He troubles my mind a great deal. I remain yours, Bridget Nevins. According to the file, there was a fire at the Browns family home in Chelsea in 1908. The foster parents, they moved to East Boston, and then to Medford, and then on to Malden. My great-grandmother was unable to stay abreast of their moves, and she lost contact with the family. She died a short time thereafter, never having reclaimed her son. She died not knowing whatever became of the one person in her life that she loved most. And he spent the rest of his life not knowing that the love that he coveted more than anything had been there for him all along. I'd do anything to bring them together, to say there had always been love between you. I can't. All I can do is pray that they are reunited in God's kingdom, where all mysteries are revealed. And all I can do is share their story with you, to remind you that there's nothing more tragic than love unrealized. Nothing at all more tragic than love unrealized. The greatest gift that God gave us is our ability to love. And it's the gift that the world needs most. And yet, so often it's the gift that we're most reluctant to give away. I talk to college students all the time, and they say, I love BC, it's a great place, such a wonderful, wonderful place. But when I get them to open up, they say, but this can be a place that's at times unloving. I've talked to students who said, in my 4 years here, no one ever asked me out on a date. No one ever shared their love with me. All this beauty, all this glory that we have. And too often the gift, the greatest gift that we have, the gift that the world needs most, is the one gift we're most often reluctant to share. So tonight, in honor of Agape, I'm asking you to change that. I'm asking you not to hold back. We can do so by asking each other out on a date. We can do so, you can do so by knocking on the door of that roommate. You know the one, the classmate down the hall from you. You know the one, the quiet one, who always seems to be alone. And saying, why don't you come out with us tonight? We'd love your company. Why don't you join us? We can do so by sharing our stories with people we're just meeting and offering to hear their stories. We can do so by opening our hearts up to others. We can do so by falling in love. We possess, through the simplest of our gifts, the gifts of our time, the gifts of our words, the gifts of our love, the opportunity to make a difference in the world. Don't go through Boston College without experiencing the joy of falling in love. Don't graduate from Boston College without experiencing the joy of giving your heart away. That's how we live our life to the fullest. And that's how we honor God, whose message is love. So in conclusion, may we overcome the heartache of love lost, loved ones lost, so that we can learn to love again. May we find it in our hearts to commit ourselves to those in this world who need our love the most. May we realize that all of us are loved, even if we can't see it. And in the end, when God calls us home, may we say that we lived our life to the fullest, without regret, because we chose to give ourselves away in love. Thank you all for being here. May God bless you. Merry Christmas.